U.S. Army Brigadier General Mark Kemet now, former Assistant Secretary of State for Political and Military Affairs under George W. Bush. General, it's good to have you here. Thank you. The Russians have a massive military convoy that we've all seen miles from Kyiv. If that amount of firepower actually comes into the city, can the Ukrainian military defend it?
Well, two things. Number one, my feeling is that's a lot of logistics, not a lot of heavy armor. It'd make a great target if the Ukrainians had some air superiority. They are hopelessly outclassed in the air. Getting that into the city, look, we've got to understand that city fighting is a completely different type of fighting than what we're seeing out in the open roads right now. The advantage goes to the defender. It'll be bloody. It will be brutal. I think the Ukrainians will eventually win, but the Russians have a lot of experience with this in Grozny, in Stalingrad. They're masters of it, and it will be brutal if it happens.
General Kemet, the Russians appear to be increasing the amount of bombs that are hitting big cities. Militarily, do you see their strategy having changed here?
Well, I do. I think what's happened is they realize that their ground game is not as good as they'd like it to be. In fact, they are probably surprised at how tough the resistance has been from Ukraine. So rather than try to go nose to nose with them, they'd rather drop the bombs, shoot the artillery, shoot the missiles, rather than go start sending more body bags back to Moscow.
President Putin today put his nuclear deterrence forces on high alert, clearly sending a message. How should the United States approach what appears to be a pretty serious escalation?
Well, the message I think he's sending is that he may not be in full control of his own faculties. That is the thing that really bothers me when people talk about this is he may be stupid, but he's not suicidal. And turning this into a nuclear conflict is just absolutely suicidal for him, his regime, and his people.
I've heard others suggest that he likely doesn't want a no-fly zone around there, and clearly the United States doesn't either. It was brought up today, this idea of the United States and Russians in a shooting war in the sky. I mean, that can lead to a world war. But beyond that, the message, you think it's that he's losing his faculties?
Well, I'm saying that nobody is going to push a conflict this far for such little reward by threatening nuclear exchange. So it doesn't make sense. He has been fairly predictable and reasonable up to this point in terms of how he's fighting this war. But when you start talking about putting your fingers on the nuclear button, that's a whole different ballgame, Shep.
We've seen him go in and lay siege to countries in the past. You know, when you see this 17-mile convoy coming in there, you wonder if his tactics on cities might change, and this could turn into something that nobody wants to see.
Oh, I think you're exactly right. As I said earlier, urban warfare is the toughest type of warfare out there. It's block to block, street to street, house to house, and it takes a lot of logistics. It takes a lot of troops, and more than anything else, it takes a lot of nerve and skill. Right now, that nerve and skill seems to be on the side of the Ukrainians and not on the Russians. But the Russians will just keep putting more and more and more into that meat grinder called urban combat, and they will just fight to the bitter end.
General Kemet, thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate it. Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.